What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers are just a few days from joining me right here in Dublin, Ireland. I landed this morning. I am so thrilled to come to you guys with my boy live just days before the Pittsburgh Steelers play an international game that Mike Tomlin said today is all business. It is pleasure, leisure. When he gets off that plane and he goes through customs and they ask, "Why you here, Mr. Mike Tomlin?" He's going to say, "All business, brother." That's what he's here for. I'm excited for it. A lot to dive into. Injuries. Should the Pittsburgh Steelers give Nick Herbig a shot if he looks good against the Vikings? And it's Tuesday, which means Overreaction Tuesday. I'm all for it. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling good. I was telling Noah right before we hopped on here. I gotta say, can't be complaining whenever I did not cross the Atlantic Ocean via an international flight. So, the body's feeling good. I wasn't thousands of feet above the ground, but we are thrilled to have you here with us live, buddy. I'm feeling good too. Tomlin might be preparing for a work trip, but I hope that you are able to get a little bit of leisure time out of this while you're there.
Yeah, look, we're doing some things. We pushed through today. Okay. Couldn't get into the Airbnb until 3 p.m. So I'll take you guys through we landed at like 9 a.m., got to the Airbnb from the airport. I want to say like 11:30, broke into the Airbnb. If they're watching right now, sorry guys, don't know what to tell you. Was not going to drag a suitcase around all day. Walked the entire length of what felt like Ireland, came back, got some food, hung out, went and got more food, ate some delicious chocolate cake or something minutes before this, and midway through dinner, felt my body go, "Big dog, you gotta go to bed." But we're here, and I've been so excited for this all day. Honestly, just to be like, hey, we're doing this, and it just feels we feel in the moment. There were flags all over the place today, which is super cool. A lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Every Uber we took, every person we talked to, everybody was talking and just, "Hey, what are you here for?" "Oh, you're here for the game. The game's going to be sick," and just telling us about the history of football here in Ireland, and the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Rooneys and everything else. They have fully taken over the city. It's pretty awesome to see, and I'm excited to get to some bars, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. It depends on the eyes. You know what I mean? Once the eyes reach this level right here, which we're getting real close, then you go to bed. Your body's told you get some sleep. If we're not there by the end of the episode, I think I might have to see what's up, if not tomorrow. But this place is awesome. I'm super excited for it. And I could already tell that it's going to be rowdy on Sunday, which is so dope. So dope to see. Let's talk some Pittsburgh Steelers football. Joey Porter Jr., Deshaun Elliott are the big ones from the Tomlin takeaways today, as they both have a likelihood of showing up and playing in Dublin against the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, I'll ask you straight up because it's the easiest question to ask all day long here. You get your starting corner and your safety that may be one of the most important pieces to your defense right now back on the field against, who would have thought, Carson Wentz, who looked dangerous, and a Minnesota Vikings team that now gets Jordan Addison back. How big of a move is this for the Pittsburgh Steelers if they're able to get both of these guys on the field?
I think it's huge. I mean, this defense, as much as we have criticized it and talked about it, ad nauseum over the first 3 weeks, like, we have been judging an incomplete group. And now we are finally, not officially there. Nothing's been confirmed yet, but we are getting closer and closer to having that full arsenal of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense available. And I think if they are able to get it against the Minnesota Vikings, it's only going to, oh, sorry about that. Always have stuff falling out of my pocket pockets over here. But if they're able to get that full arsenal going against the Minnesota Vikings, it is the first real chance that they can really have to stepping towards being a real top 10 defense if they can be one. It's huge. The secondary has been where they are the most susceptible to these big plays that they've given up. While I put out something about Jabril Peppers earlier today. I think we're all thrilled with what he has provided in the short term. Getting Deshaun Elliott back to possibly pair with him or to just sort of add a more dynamic duo back there, oof, that's going to be a huge impact. My one question is there any increased effort? Is there any rush to get them back for, what is a pretty pivotal big game here in week 4? I was encouraged with what I saw from Deshaun Elliott as he was working back at the facility last week. I imagine he's taking more and more steps over the past few days. So, if he's ready, let him rock and roll. But if not, I don't think there's a need to push just because it's an important and fun game, marquee matchup.
And I agree. I think that you can't run. Joey Porter's like different. Hamstrings are weird. Like you can't. Hamstring injuries are, I mean, you're never 100%. You're never. Once you suffer a hamstring injury early at any point during the season, you'll never get back to a place where you are 100% that season. You're going to need the whole year. A knee injury, you could judge and say, okay, he's not healthy or he is healthy. And I agree with you. Like, you can't rush Deshaun Elliott back on the field. Now, if he's there, and I know Deshaun wants to be out there, I know he is itching. He's pissed off every week that he can't be on the field. He wants to be out there with that defense, especially in games when they're not playing well. And he could say, hey, look, I got to be back. I got to be that guy. He wants to be out there. I agree with you. You can't push him. You can't say, oh, you're 95% ready. Cool, go play. No, you're 100 or nothing in this situation. And I don't think the Steelers are going to push him. I think they understand the severity of the situation, which leads me to believe that this is still a, most likely, but not a guarantee. There's still 3 days of practice where the Steelers are going to utilize all 3 of those days and see where Deshaun Elliott is. Wednesday's practice will be the big one. If he's out there and he's a full participant, okay, there's a good shot. If he's a partial participant, I think the door is still very much so 50-50 on whether it's going to open or close for him to play in week 4 against the Vikings. But I agree with you. You can't put him out there. Porter, on the other hand, I feel if he's 95%, put him on the field, because what are you holding on to? Like, you're not going to get that 100. You're not even going to get close. You could get 95 and feel pretty okay about it. I think you go that way if you're the Steelers, and work with a guy. I think a key piece. And I think, honestly, what makes this easy for the Steelers in both cases is the fact that Brandon Echols played pretty well against the Patriots, but Jabril Peppers finally gave them an option to say, oh, we actually have a replacement for Deshaun Elliott. Not a Deshaun Elliott. Jabril Peppers is not Deshaun Elliott, but he's not Juan Thornhill. He's not Chuck Clark. He's definitely better than both of those guys. I think that's it gives the Steelers options. I agree with you. You can't rush them back. Tuesday, after what you've seen, we haven't done this in a while, so I'm very curious to see what your answer is. Your 1 to 10 shot that both these guys get on the field on Sunday.
I'm gonna go 2. I won't give my typical answer. I think the Steelers are going to be cautious, and I'll let my hopes sort of dictate my answer here more than maybe what we've heard so far. I hope that they are very cautious about this, and I think it's a very low likelihood that both Joey Porter Jr. and Deshaun Elliott are both playing this upcoming Sunday. We'll see what happens. I'll be out at the facilities tomorrow and Thursday before they leave. So, I'll get a much better sense of that over the coming days as well. But yeah, I would be shocked if both of them are playing.
I think I sit on the same boat. I feel Joey is honestly, I feel Deshaun's probably a better chance to go. I think when it's all said and done, I wouldn't be surprised if Joey's the one on the field and Deshaun isn't, just because they're not going to rush Deshaun back. At some point, you just kind of rush your hamstring injuries back and say, yep, put him on the field. We'll see what happens. Let's talk Nick Herbig. I put out a to-go this morning talking about how the Pittsburgh Steelers Saw a lot out of Nick Herbig, and I don't think the Steelers should trade Alex Highsmith unless they're in conversations with somebody else and that conversation leads to, well, maybe if you gave us Alex Highsmith, we'll give you Dexter Lawrence. Well, all right. That's a conversation I'm willing to have right now. That being said, Nick Herbig looked, in my opinion, great in week 3 against the Patriots. It's the Patriots. You got to keep that. You got to keep the reality check there. It's the Patriots. But I think he looked great against the Patriots. I think he's taken a significant step year after year after year. He is now a guy that is in line, in my opinion, with an opportunity to really put himself on the map in the fan base. My question for you is, should that opportunity be with the Steelers as well? Should the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point, watching Alex Highsmith get hurt time and time again, and Nick Herbig look good and develop more and more and more and work out with TJ Watt and have all these things on his side to develop the right way in a really positive, aggressive, and like nasty physical manner that makes him way more than an undersized athletic guy that he was coming out of college. Should the Pittsburgh Steelers seriously consider at this point in both of their careers having Nick Herbig actually have a shot to prove himself as a starter?
We are getting dangerously close if we are not already there. I find it very funny that it was just a couple of days ago. I think it was in like our final prep. Oh, sorry about that. It's my wife calling me.
Not Tori, bro. Not Tori. She
No,
knows
not in
it's
the
podcast
middle.
time.
It's podcasting time. My apologies
Podcasting
again for
time.
another interruption there, but I it's funny that we're talking about right before the New England Patriots matchup that, you know, is this one injury too many, or how many is too many? How many are too many injuries for Alex Highsmith before something
Yeah,
has to give for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And, as much as it is unfair for injuries to take away an opportunity for a player like Alex Highsmith, who has shown to be very effective when he is on the field,
for
in
sure.
his absence, Nick Herbig does not feel at all like a step back anymore. Maybe, as a rookie, of course, last year there was still some gaps, but the athleticism that he provides, it makes up for any sort of undersized comments that you might get thrown his way. He made really the entire New England Patriots offensive line and just offense in general look pretty foolish for not paying him more attention throughout the game. He's a player who's in his 3rd year, and I think he is, just like you mentioned as well, been growing and growing and growing. And I just think eventually, if he's playing so well, how can you justify taking him off the field just because you have another player who is also a very strong contributor? He's pretty much there, and I think it would be a huge mistake for the Steelers to let go of him, or for them to sort of like waste this opportunity. The Steelers were given basically a gift in week 3 by my accounts: Nick Herbig's
Yes.
emergence and Jabril Peppers' emergence. So they have these two players who are on strong runs. Ride the hot hand and just keep letting them play. If they fizzle out, okay, then you have other options to go to. But in the meantime, just see if you can stack wins with these players who are playing maybe better than they will down the line. So yeah,
I
is
look,
the long answer there.
yeah, I agree. I look at it and say, Nick Herbig looks good. And just like you said, he's not a downgrade anymore. He is a starting quality outside linebacker in the NFL. And he plays better against the run than people want to admit. That, everybody's, hey, he can't set the edge. I thought he played pretty well against the rush in New England. Did he play perfect? No. Did he play as well as Alex Highsmith? No. But you want to know who also played pretty good? DeMarvin Leal and Jack Sawyer, who I both look at and say, are these quality options? Now, DeMarvin Leal is a different situation, different conversation, because, I'm not sitting here by no means saying a 4th-year guy who didn't make the roster is now all of a sudden a guy that you could bank on as a backup, over Alex Highsmith after one okay game. That's not a realistic conversation. But Jack Sawyer's looked good in the last 2 weeks. Jack Sawyer's a guy that they see as the future. Like, what do you need to see? Like, what would the Steelers need to see in these next couple of weeks? That's the question to myself is, if the Steelers look good in the next 2 weeks and Alex Highsmith, or 3 weeks, I guess, and Alex Highsmith then comes back, I don't know how you shake that up more than just saying, well, Jack Sawyer is now the guy. And don't get me wrong, I think Alex Highsmith's a starter on 32 teams in the NFL. But I think Nick Herbig is getting very close to that situation, who is younger, gets hurt less, and is probably the future of the position. I'll ask you a real dangerous question here. And this is nothing against Alex Highsmith at all. If the right situation presented itself, you do not make phone calls to trade him. But if the right situation presented itself to where you're going, oh, Dexter Lawrence or an offensive tackle or maybe even a wide receiver, maybe, would you consider trading him?
Yes. I don't. I'm not just saying that for like the fun of the hypothetical. I think there is a very real argument to be made that if a specific need can be filled, I'll leave that up to your imagination. No, I'll leave it up to the Picnic Pack's imagination as to what that exact need has to be to let go of Alex Highsmith. But when you have a player who is, like we've both kind of agreed here, is not a step back ready to replace him, it does allow you some wiggle room that, again, if the right situation comes along, why not capitalize on that? Why not pull the trigger? In my mind, and again, I don't want to like go down this road of like hypothetical trade scenarios or like dreaming up the perfect one, but the most glaring need that needs to be filled that there is no real answer to right now, in my opinion, is starting offensive tackles. Take your pick on left or right side. If you're able to find a solution for 2025 and beyond that Alex Highsmith helps you get to, that's the scenario, in my opinion, where it might be worth continuing to go down that road. Other than that, it's just purely speculation, conjecture, et cetera, et cetera.
I agree. I very much so agree. You would never, I would blast Omar Khan so I would slam this dude so hard if he traded Alex Highsmith for nothing in a situation that emerged where it was Omar Khan was calling about trades for Alex Highsmith. But if Omar Khan's having a conversation that is fruitful and leads to that conversation, that discussion, I'm all about, I'm all about that. I'm all about him opening that door for that conversation. And I think these next couple of weeks are going to be pivotal in that conversation. Now, obviously, if the bye week, if Alex returns after the bye week, it's a really difficult conversation. But if Alex is out the next 2 weeks, which I would imagine he's going to be, the Steelers will have a conversation that'll will have to be had at some point, for sure. All right, it's Tuesday. You know what that means. It's Overreaction Tuesday. I'm fired up. Jacob's got him for me today, which we'll switch up. I'm excited for him. What? Let's get into it.
It's a fine line between, drinking wine and squashing grapes, as we say in this business. And sometimes it's very subtle.
Sometimes it's very subtle. I'm thrilled to see what you got, my friend. Hit me with them.
Thank you, sir. I'll preface this with I have two that are in my characteristic pessimistic sort of approach, and two that I think you'll find to be quite the opposite. Do you have a preference for which area we start first? Good news,
dude, hit
bad
me
news.
with the look. I'm in Ireland. Let me tell you what I've learned from the Irish people today. Okay, I was in an Uber going to dinner, and some lady cuts out in front of my Uber driver, nearly hits us. It was crazy. And he just slams on the brakes. I was like, whoo, brother, that was close. And he goes, yeah, she's from Croak, wherever the stadium is. And he's like, it's no big deal. She doesn't know her way around. And I was like, what? I was like, you guys are just okay with that? He's like, yeah. I mean, she has no idea where she's going. Accidents happen. I was like, dude, if this was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I would have screamed at that lady till I blew a blood vessel in my eye. Like, it would have been so bad how angry I would have got instantly. So you know what? It taught me patience and optimism. And with that, toss me your pessimistic ones. I want the bad news first, because I feel like I could bring some good to it. I feel like the Irish people have rubbed off on me enough to get that going.
Incredible. I'm going to test that theory immediately. And again, there will be some twists on the other side. But, watching them against the New England Patriots left me feeling pretty blue about their offensive performance. They go against the Minnesota Vikings, searching for answers. I
Yes.
don't know what's going to happen, my dude. Here is my overreaction. Please tell me that that is all this is. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not going to score more than 30 points in a game for the rest of the season. Week 1 was the only time that's going to happen.
That hurts a little bit. That was, you know what I mean? I was feeling that I'm gonna need my Uber driver real fast over
so
here.
confident.
That one was like so immediately like my optimism just sank through the roof. That's an overreaction. Okay. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I've watched the Pittsburgh Steelers score 30 points twice in the season with Kenny frickin' Pickett, man. Kenny frickin' Pickett. Okay. Tiny baby hands scored 30 points more than once in a season. Aaron Rodgers can do it. I'm 100% confident in that. I don't know when it's going to be, but what I do know is that at some point, Mike Tomlin and this team is going to click in some way just enough where it's like, oh, they're on a roll. You know what I mean? Here they go, and they'll get you because that's what they do. They either start where it's like, this is a Super Bowl team. This is going to be the craziest year ever. And then the downfall is just literally somebody standing in front of you, slapping you with a newspaper 7 times every single Sunday. It's like you walk out of your house and some dude's there to just kick you in the crotch. Or they start off looking like the worst team of all time, which they're winning right now, but that's what's happening. And they turn it around. And to add that in, this NFL season's so drunk right now that Derrick Henry's losing the Baltimore Ravens and my fantasy football team games. And Patrick Mahomes, right now, Patrick Mahomes, the Chicago Bears, and the Baltimore Ravens all have the same thing in common, and that's that they're 1-2. That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make sense at all, which means that at some point this season is going to just have one big giant explosion somewhere, and the Steelers will score 30 points. So I don't think it'll be 10 more times. I don't think it'll be 5, but I'm pretty confident it'll happen again. I'm pretty confident it'll happen. They play the Cincinnati Bengals in 3 weeks, bro. 3 weeks. They play a team where I can't name more than one person on that defense. Most people can't. So it'll happen again. It'll happen again.
Okay. That's helpful to know. That's reassuring to hear. I appreciate it. Okay, I can accept that. I disagree, but I'll accept it. Here's my other slightly negative overreaction for you. I mentioned this, as we were talking about Alex Highsmith, like the offensive tackles, they continue to be a huge cause for concern. The overreaction here is that once again, this offensive tackle position has not been solved, and the Steelers will be forced to use a very high draft pick, i.e., first or second round, on an offensive tackle in the 2026 NFL draft because of their inability to find one the past 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even close to an overreaction. I mean, Broderick Jones it should be counting his days as the Pittsburgh Steelers starter. It doesn't mean that he's going to be the guy or he's going to lose his job. But right now, he is so firmly in Dan Moore Jr. territory. It's crazy, dude. At one point, he's going to turn around and realize it's just him. He's the only one standing in the field anymore because nobody's fighting for him. That's where we're at. And we're getting close. We're getting close. That's where we're at. I mean, he's just not. I like Broderick a lot. You know that.
Mhm.
I wish Broderick was good. I wish he was good, man. I think he's so optimistic. I think he's so positive. I think he's such a good teammate. He's just not good. And the Steelers need a good offensive tackle. So you're not going to give up on Troy after essentially his rookie year, but you are going to start giving up on Broderick. I think that the Steelers draft an offensive tackle if they do not sign a veteran, a proven starter veteran. in the first 2 rounds for sure next season.
That's all right. That's good. I'm glad. That was almost like a gauge, so to speak, where if you called that an overreaction, I think I was gonna have to fly over there and show you the streets of Dublin. You know what I mean? Because that's but okay. All right. Here's my that's all I have for like the negative parts of me, the pessimistic side of Jacob Puntori. I have a couple to finish out this 4-pack that I think are a little bit more positive.
That's what we love to hear.
I'll give you one real quick here. No preface, just off the cuff. Derek Harmon is going to win the rookie defensive player of the year, whatever the wording is.
Who else would even be in the running? Who else was you got like 11 defensive tackles that were drafted in front of him. I don't know what any of those stats are. I don't know anybody else that was drafted. I mean, like, again, like I'm working off 6% brain capacity right now. It's not great.
I'll give you a couple of names. How about Abdul Carter?
That's a good one.
That feels like probably the best possible.
That's a good one.
As soon as I pulled that name up, I'm like, yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge. Here's what I think about this. Derek Harmon's performance was so strong, as we both have already talked about and written about. Travis Hunter, no, he does not. He can't even figure out which side of the ball he actually can be a contributor on. The Jaguars don't know either. They're probably just going to make it worse for him either way.
Agreed.
He doesn't really, but Derek Harmon, I don't expect these statistics to carry on throughout the entire year, but man, if it's 75% of the pace that he establishes in one game or 60% of that, you're looking at a guy who is, undoubtedly the best rookie defender in the NFL this year.
Yeah, that's not an overreaction. I thought Derek Harmon looked crazy in his first game. I thought he's looked good all summer long. I'm a Derek Harmon believer, man. I thought he looked so good in college. He was Cam Hayward, but like Cam Hayward now, not Cam Hayward when he came into the NFL. This is not an overreaction. I don't think it's close to an overreaction. I think there are going to be those select 2 or 3 guys early in the draft and are that compete with them. And then I think Derek Harmon's going to be in the running. This is not an overreaction. I think he's got a shot.
Okay. All right. Apparently I'm keeping it insanely mild today. So let me finish this one off. And I think this was maybe my craziest one, not to toot my own horn. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are a defense that's, all over the place, stuck in limbo, sure. The one thing they're going to continue to do is probably create turnovers, even if they are still allowing 30 points a game. I am betting that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to lead the NFL in defensive turnovers, but not only that, will have a margin of at least 10 over the next defense.
Oh my gosh. At least 10.
At least 10 more turnovers.
Do we know where they're at right now? Like, do we know they gotta be up
7,
there for sure.
7, 8 turnovers at least right now.
Yeah,
they had 5 against the Patriots. They've had.
I wonder where they're at.
I can recall 3 other interceptions.
And TJ's just getting started. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you walk the line by saying 10 before the team before them, because that's an insane amount of turnovers. Where I differentiate, okay, is they're going to have, so they'd have to have like 75. No, that's a crazy number. They'd have to have like 25, 26 turnovers, and the next team would have to have like 15. That would have to be the numbers, which would be crazy. I think you lose me on the 10. I think you'll lose me on the 10. I think they could lead the NFL in turnovers. I think saying that the Detroit Lions, the Baltimore Ravens, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles, who whom I'm missing people. I know I'm missing people. Like those 4 alone, you're telling me those guys are all going to be 10 turnovers behind? I'm going overreaction on that one. You had me in the first half, lost me in the second half. I was there for it. I think that's where I ended on that overreaction.
All right, fine. Whatever.
All right. I appreciate that 4-pack. It was a good one. I think we finished 2-2, which is always a good day. Make sure you guys are tossing them in the chat because we love some extra overreactions. With that said, that's everything on our agenda. We're going to start diving into your guys' questions. So make sure that you're tossing them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can on the other side of this break. But first, a quick word from our boys over at DraftKings.
What's up, AST Nation? I've teamed up with DraftKings. The next great touchdown is coming. You can bet on it. And the best way to do so is through DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers who bet just $5 get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen. Then use your bonus bets to stay in on the action with DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. And don't worry, if sports betting is not yet available in your state, you're fine. You can still join in on all of the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. New customers bet $5. That's $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Sign up using my promo code ALLSteelers and get in on the action today. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
All right, y'all. Shout out to our boys over at DraftKings. If you got questions, toss them in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we head out of here. Shout out to our super chatters. Shout out to our members. Shout out to CPCP, who we will not say that comment, but it is hilarious. And I have sent that TikTok to everyone because it was hilarious. My guy. Let's start with Chris here. This could not be all in. You got 5 turnovers and still barely beat a bad Pats team. We will win just enough to have no chance at a franchise quarterback. So here's the thing when it comes to this, okay? I view the Pittsburgh Steelers as a team that were going to barely win enough to get a franchise quarterback anyways, and then trade up to get a franchise quarterback. So I think I'm pretty spot on where we are. However, I think the offense does need some work. I think by the day, my calmness, and again, maybe it's just the people of Ireland, the great people here in Dublin, keep teaching me patience and calmness, except for some guy walked by me, okay? I don't want to get derailed here. I'll tell that story in a second. But I think the Steelers defense is I think you could look back and say that defensive performance was actually like you turned the ball over 5 times, you hold a team to 14 points. You didn't do everything great. The time of possession was terrible, but it was a massive step forward. And that's a positive, I think, for sure. Offensively, I think you're in a lot of trouble. Here's where I'm going with this, okay? Today, I'm walking down the street, texting. I'm texting you and Jack, actually. You and our boy Jack Markowski, texting you guys. And some dude walks behind me, cuts me off, not cuts me off, but like rudely comes around me, says something as he's going. I'm from Pittsburgh, bro. Like, unless you're saying, excuse me, don't say anything at all. So I said, oh, you talking to me, dude?
Mm-hmm.
I actually, you know me. I said, I was like, oh, you talking to me, big dog? And he turned around and he said, yeah, big dog. And then he called me a moron. And my brain went, Noah, you can't get in trouble. You can't get in trouble in Ireland. This is not, it looks bad. You can't do this. So outside of the one human who I also think was teaching me patience, I think the city has taught me that sometimes you just got to take a breath. Okay. And realize the defense isn't as bad as they were 2 weeks ago. And maybe that's a good thing. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I think what I am drawing hope from out of Chris's statement is that maybe there's just not a franchise quarterback worth taking next year, you know? And maybe that's been the ruse all along. So we don't have to even worry about it. That's what I'm I guess hoping, cuz if they go 9-8, 10-7, get some pick between 18 and 21 again, Chris is bang on. They're how are they going to find the guy, right? Like there's a chance, but it's unlikely.
I agree.
I
I agree.
I think it's gotta hope that this 2026 class continues to kinda, uh, descend into madness like it continues to, so, I don't know.
It's a tough time. Chris has another one here for us. Noah and Jacob, you guys are too nice. Meyer and O-line are a bust. Offense is a mess, and we are mediocre again. I am tired of being patient with Tomlin. Chris has always been, our boy. Love Chris. Sometimes we got to help you breathe here, brother. Although I agree with you. Meyer and the offensive line are terrible and getting worse by the week, which is awful. And again, you're not going to fire Pat Meyer during the season. It's not going to happen. But I have a really hard time justifying that this guy is worth having a job right now because this offensive line is atrocious. And I said this yesterday. When Isaac Seumalo looks bad and then Troy Fautanu looks bad, like, it's not just Broderick anymore, and that's on everybody. And somebody's got to play better, And if you can't coach them to do that, what are you doing? What the Steelers were once a team that turned Ramon Foster into a nearly legendary for the franchise player. Alejandro Villanueva, the same thing. Like those were nobodies. And they've come a long way. So I do put a lot of it on Pat.
Yeah. You know who, PFF graded as the, best run blocking lineman for the Steelers in week 3?
Can I guess? Well, yeah, you want
Yeah,
to guess. All right. Again, 6%
I would love it if you do,
rank
yeah.
capacity. We're getting there. That is,
No,
what I
I'm
mean?
sorry if not over. I'm sorry for not explaining it thoroughly.
You explained it. Your question was literally, do you know who the highest? I was like, oh, you want me to guess? Can I guess? I would say, I'm going to say Broderick Jones.
A great guess, especially in the line of conversation. Even more shocking, I think you'll find this answer to be is Isaac Seumalo, who they gave a 90, I want to say 0.8
No.
in run blocking. And I'm like, I don't know if we watched the same games. I don't know how a team that averages less than 3 yards per carry can have any lineman that is graded quote unquote A in run blocking. Just simply can't be the case. Impossible.
No. Yeah, no. The answer is a no. The answer is a big no on that one. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Just too many hurt at practice. Overreaction. Steelers won't have a game holding opponents to under 300 total yards this season. Or OR. What is OR? 2.0. Oh, man. Dude,
Overreaction 2.0.
Oh, overreaction 2.0. See what I'm saying? 6% great brain capacity. They will have a turnover in every game left. I do think that the second one is not that. I think the second one might not be an overreaction, as crazy as that sounds. I also think that'd be really tough for a team. No, I think both of these might not be an overreaction. Maybe, but right now, from what we've seen, it's not like the Patriots were close to under 300 yards. They were over or just about 400 yards once again, just under 400 yards. Right now it's I think it's over 395, 394. That's atrocious. I don't think either of these are overreactions.
No, I mean, defensively, that is just an astute observation. They are a team. They are a porous defense, even with the very slight steps that were taken in that victory against the New England Patriots. I want to sort of find some balance here when talking about it because there were steps taken, right? Like Derek Harmon's impact can't be understated. Jabril Peppers coming in seems to have solved some issues for sure. it does not negate the fact that this defense, with these improvements, still gave up way too many yards, way too many big plays. And if they didn't force so many turnovers, it would have absolutely been a game that they lost. I absolutely see them continuing to force turnovers throughout the season, but I also think they're going to continue to give up big plays, unless something seriously changes. It could, but yeah, I think they're going to be gashed for big plays, making up for it with turnovers and just hoping that they continue to win that battle.
I agree. He's got another one here. Just too many hurt. Overreaction number 3. Steelers are only capable of spending early round draft picks on defensive players and miss on all offensive picks, regardless of position. I think this could go one of two ways. Either stating overreaction and then talking. I think either way, in the last couple of years, this has relevance. In the last couple of years. But it doesn't have relevance all the time. And I also think it's very unique to where those guys are. Omar Khan's drafts are what I want to judge right now. And Troy Fautanu and Broderick Jones are both working under the same position coach. Calvin Austin doesn't look too bad. Oh, Calvin Austin was Kenny Pickett's draft. Excuse me. So he was Kevin Colbert. Who else would be an offensive guy in the last couple of years? Mason McCormick and Zach Frazier are the only 2 good offensive linemen right now. And that's not saying much, but they aren't terrible. I think this walks the line. I think I'm on the side of an overreaction here.
Man, I can't call it an overreaction just because I think. I mean, look, I think Troy Fautanu can be an anchor. I love Troy Fautanu. I love Broderick. I'll always applaud Broderick Jones as the person without, we can't applaud the performance on the field, but he's an excellent human. I just don't want to say anything bad about him at all. It's not inspiring, those 2 picks. You go behind that, Kenny Pickett, you go behind that, Najee Harris.
Yes.
What? Yes, I absolutely agree with you. Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick feel like really strong and long-term solutions in the offensive line. So that goes a long way because teams search for, endlessly to find those missing pieces. But the skill positions, I think, is where that is such a very real reaction. The ability to find impact players in the first round that play a skill position, or just really, you haven't found that quarterback yet. Kenny Pickett, what'd you call him? Baby hands earlier? He's in that Burger King commercial.
Yeah, dude, he's the lawyer. He's the lawyer cousin in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's what he is. Hello. Don't look at my hands. Don't look at my hands. That's what he is. Shout out to Kenny Pickett, man. Shout out to Kenny Pickett. I love that we disagree on this because I think that it shows that the Steelers still have a chance. But at the same time, it looks atrocious right now. And I think that's realistic. I think right now it's you want to stay optimistic because these guys are young, but you have to stay realistic at the same time. So great overreaction here by just too many hurts. Chris, guys, would moving Jones to guard next year work? I get tied up on this because I pitched this suggestion so long ago. And I think the Steelers offensive line stinks so bad right now that I don't know if I'm in on taking that risk. I think that's where I have a hard time with it is do I think he could work at guard? Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
He'd have to get bigger, which, you can't be a 295-pound guard. That's just not going to happen. At the same time, I think the Steelers offensive line, they have to figure it out. And I think taking that chance might be too risky for them.
Yeah, I think there was more I was able to lend more credence to that hypothetical, last year when you're still trying to find this exact right fit for him. But like
Yeah.
they've put now 3 years of work into trying to make him, an anchor of a left tackle. Like I just don't see him having a very quick translatable skill set to just stepping in for what would have to be the left guard position and then finding more success. I think there just might be, you know, to use, to stay. I don't know how to stay optimistic and realistic with this next comment, but like, what if Broderick Jones just isn't an NFL offensive lineman, right? Like, maybe it was worth the risk, it was worth the attempt, but maybe he's not. Why would moving him from tackle to guard solve that issue? It in my opinion, it probably won't.
I agree. Like in it, you want to give that guy every chance you can, but right now you're kind of in a desperation mode. Highsmith's Glass Factory hashtag RAK Blessed Light. Who is most likely? Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. We're gonna look. I'm a big fan of Alex Highsmith. He's a good dude. I wish him nothing but the best. Don't laugh. Who is most likely to crash out first when the Steelers go 1-5 to end the season? Rodgers, Ramsey, or Metcalf? Can I go option D of George Pickens tweeting about the Steelers? Like, is that because we're going to go most likely? I'm not going to say none of these guys are going to crash out, but if I had to guess who's going to make the first and the most comments, I could like George. It's George Pickens. That's who the answer is. I think I would go George.
Yeah, I think that's like a really fair wild card to pull out. I think of the three that we were given here, I'm pulling Aaron Rodgers because I think we've seen a lot of emotion so far. I know he came into the year pretty chill, the zened out version of Aaron Rodgers. He's doing what's good for the soul and all these things. But tell you what, Calvin Austin doesn't run the right route against the Seattle Seahawks. Caught near full from Aaron Rodgers for that. Pat Fryermuth bailed out on a route against the New England Patriots, and it was something that Aaron Rodgers clearly thought he should have held up right on the sidelines there and been available for a pass. He didn't do it. He didn't find the seam. Aaron Rodgers was seemingly yelling coming off the sidelines about that.
Yeah.
I think if this goes 1-5 poorly to end the year, my man Aaron Rodgers is taking hit after hit. This offense is stumbling. It is not doing anything of note. The 41-year-old, it might be good for the soul for him to just completely crash out, take his next, little trip, his little vision quest, and move on. I could see that happening for sure.
I can see it happening as well. Tortellini salad. How do we think the Steelers and Vikings game will play out? Does Carson Wentz ball out now that Jordan Addison is back? I think he balled out a little bit last week. I think this is going to be another. So I have two trains of thought here. I think this is a game where the Steelers defense continues to show us that they're getting better. But at the second time, my second train of thought here is that this is the last time that Aaron Rodgers gets to play the Minnesota Vikings. And I think we're overlooking that a lot in this matchup. Like, this is not the New England Patriots. This is not the Seattle Seahawks. This is one of three teams that he played every year, twice a year, and wanted to beat. And, I think we're kind of overlooking that. So I can't guarantee anything. This could be a complete dumpster fire. Cork Park could be awful. The mood, the energy here could be terrible. Like, all these people could spend thousands of dollars to come to Dublin, Ireland, and be super disappointed. Or Aaron Rodgers could say, this is the Jets 2.0. And I think it could go either way. So I think the defense is going to show us something more. But I also think that there's the element of an Aaron Rodgers last shebang tour here.
Yeah, I think that is like something that needs to be talked about a little bit more in these coming days. The revenge games, that motivation certainly played a part in the New York Jets game. So maybe that same sort of magic comes back against the Minnesota Vikings. I don't really feel that concerned about what Carson Wentz is going to do against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Like, they have a lot of good pieces. Like, the defense is going to get worked in some ways. I'm not worried that like Carson Wentz is coming out to like do some unbelievable things. I think you watch Arrested Development, Noah. You're such a TV guy. You had to have, right?
I'm not. We all know the answer to this. No, I have not.
I don't know why I show up here most days.
I just don't watch television, dude. I just can't. I just can't. You want to know what I watched? I had 6 hours, 7 hours on a plane. I watched The Office. That's what I watched. Like,
okay, no, it's great. It's great. Oh,
it's great, but it's the one of 4 television shows I've ever watched in my life. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a disappointment. I know.
yeah, no, it's okay. I was just gonna say a quote that is just like entirely not
I'm
helpful.
sure somebody
unless
here is going to know it.
I was gonna say that. Hopefully my wife watches this episode because she loves Arrested Development. She never watches it, so
she's looking for you, dude. So she's gonna,
she's looking for me. No, you know why she called me? You know, I know for a fact she's not watching because she called me and absolutely forgot that we were recording this right now. Like, there's not a chance. So
she was like, "Why is he not answering me?"
Like, this son of a bitch, just so lazy. Just answer the phone.
That's exactly.
I'm like, you alive? But I was gonna say that I think Carson Wentz, he prematurely shot his wad against the Cincinnati Bengals, and you gotta watch Arrested Development. You'll love it. David Cross is the GOAT. But I think that was such a explosive performance against the Cincinnati Bengals that, like, is he going to put up 40 points again? I don't know. That feels like crazy for a backup quarterback to come in and do some sort of Linsanity stuff. But I think the Steelers defense are in for trouble against the Minnesota Vikings in some ways, but I think it should be closer than, they shouldn't get blown out by them. That's my point.
I think anybody listening knew what that, like, you didn't need Arrested Development to understand the situation there. I just feel like if you said it without context, I think people would have, I don't think a single human would have been like, dude, that's from Arrested Development. You remember that episode when I think they would have just been like, I know what that saying means.
The only reason why I say like this is from Arrested Development is because I don't just colloquially use this term, this euphemism for what I'm describing there. Like, it is a very specific context in which that phrase applies. I'm not just sitting around.
They better be. I'm gonna go turn that episode on, and they better be talking about Carson Wentz and the Minnesota Vikings when he uses that. Otherwise, I just could have been just said it. I think we would have known. James, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Same. I think we're gonna get fined. I think we're pretty at the point of getting fined. James has another one here. Sprite Cherry Lime is fire, and so is Sprite Tea. I love Sprite, but I don't order a Sprite. You know what I mean? I'm a DP guy, a Diet Pepsi guy when need be. But you're an everything in the bunch type of guy.
Yeah, I'll drink anything. I did really like the cherry lime, cherry Sprite, whatever, had 400 names. It was pretty tasty. We'll buy again. Sprite tea, never have had, and I would love to try it, but I don't even know where to get that. James, drop another comment where I could pick that thing up.
Shout out Nicholas. Tomlin, all about small change to get the team going. I think he needs to be that change next year. The Steelers are the worst team in the league. I mean, the Tennessee Titans are like, there's a significant gap between them and anybody else. The Miami Dolphins are there too. I mean, the New York Giants, Russ couldn't even get them cooking, guys. Russ tried, he turned the burner on, and then the whole kitchen caught on fire so fast. So fast. He was not cooking whatsoever. It's very premature to talk Tomlin fired. It's very premature in the season. That's my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, look, I don't it's not worth going further into. Not that Nicholas's comment is not, worth diving into, but like Tomlin's job is secure and the criticisms are valid, are deserved. He continues to have things that he needs to adjust and improve on, but like there's no hot seat to get close to. There's nothing's going to happen in terms of his position. Um I, so we love to speculate on a lot of this, I know, but just because this season isn't going, they're not 3-0 doesn't mean that Tomlin is in jeopardy of losing his job.
No, not yet. James here with another one, and it's not about your Sprite. We had a 6th round tight end move to tackle and make it. We went to the Super Bowl with Mendenhall. It's the offensive line coach. I don't think it's the offensive line coach that is making the Steelers overall this bad. I do think that the offensive line coach is an issue for sure, but I still don't think that, wide receivers get open or the defense plays better because the offensive line plays better. I just don't think those things tie.
There's some intersection of it for sure. Like the Steelers had a fantastic offensive line whenever they were winning Super Bowls, but like just because you have it doesn't mean that the rushing game always works. It would be easier. I think Jaylen Warren would be recognized as a much better running back, and he would have much better numbers if he had a competent offensive line in front of him. But that's certainly not a guarantee, and there's no way that that would happen just because all those other pieces were in place. I don't like Pat Meyer's work right now. I expect him to not be there next year in the same role, but
no.
It doesn't mean that whoever they bring in next is going to magically get something out of Broderick Jones or will take Troy Fautanu's, shortcomings and then magically fix it. That all of that stuff still has to happen sort of independent of who is in that position.
I agree. Unlimited moon salad. Have we given up on signing Hill or Waddle? I think for right now, yes. And there's another question here from Lindsay. Do we need a wide receiver? I believe that we do. I think we talked about this yesterday, and it's good to reiterate it, but I think until they can figure out how to use DK Metcalf better, how to use Calvin Austin better, how to use any of their 7,000 tight ends better, when Jaylen Warren stops being the leading receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think at that point, we have a real conversation about maybe they look somewhere else. And you brought this up, you were the one that said this. I'm taking your comment here, so I apologize. But until then, I just don't think that it's on the table for them. Again, I stole that from you, so go ahead.
No, I agree with whatever wise person said that, because it just makes a ton of sense. I think the offense just has this, it doesn't. It is really just this through line of why a couple months ago when training camp opened, why like one of the first things I said was I don't understand why they would be interested in pursuing another wide receiver. It's sort of the same reason why I continue to have that opinion, is because whoever's in the mix, they are failing to utilize on a way that feels significant. Like Aaron Rodgers spread the ball out against the New England Patriots. There was 6 or 7 people who caught a pass. Everyone caught 3 passes, right? The problem is that doesn't mean anyone did anything of substance with those 3, 4, 5 receptions. So until those 3 receptions turn into 4 receptions for 45, 50 yards, or until those 3 receptions include 1 deep ball to Calvin Austin, it makes no difference how the personnel changes. Probably how it makes no difference on the offensive line if you just substitute in or swap in different pieces. If the entire thing is just, this train off the tracks type of thing, just swapping in an individual part doesn't really get the thing moving on the tracks again. So I don't really think Tyreek Hill or Jaylen Waddle really moved the needle for them at this point.
Nicholas here. My comment just comes from frustration. We're just lazy as a team. No ambition. I like Rodgers' attitude because F this. I look at we hear you. We hear you, brother. It's a season. It's early though, and I think at that point you try to keep things a little positive. Things need to change, for sure. And the frustration is gonna grow. But hopefully, at the end of the day, this is a Steelers team that surprises us in a good way instead of a bad way this season. And we're gonna keep that energy for as long as we can. We appreciate you. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we keep it trucking here to close out the show. Chew and Bark Seaweed Salad, aka Sada Burrito. Noah, where's the pint of beer? Hopefully after this, although as many people are pointing out in the comments, I'm looking a little tired here. What time is it there? It is just after 10 p.m., 10:04 p.m. I've been awake since my flight left Pittsburgh yesterday at 4:21. So I've been awake since yesterday at 4:21, just about, pretty much. Good times, great people. Very excited for them. Just too many heart at practice. When do the Steelers hop across the pond if they wait till Friday or later? They're shooting themselves in the foot. They are coming Friday. It'll be Thursday night into Friday. That's what the NFL told them to do. I don't know how strict the NFL was on that. But that's what the NFL's, process was in there, and it stinks, but you gotta push through it, unfortunately. Nicholas, also sorry for the grammar. YouTube is messing it up. Look at dude. I think I could read your comments right now better than normal ones. So shout out my guy. Appreciate you, my dude. Appreciate you, my dude. Cody, Noah, I know we sit here and only discuss the Steelers, who have been at best a question mark, but there are about 28 teams right now who look just as bad, if not worse, just need to not be as bad as the other teams. You're not wrong. Like, at the end of the day, the Steelers just got to outplay everybody to get to the dance. My only issue is you're not beating Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson if they're peaking and you're not. So you got to progressively get better. But again, like right now we're having conversations of Jalen Ramsey's having bad times and DK Metcalf's not doing much. And TJ Watt just had his first big game. And the Ravens are having conversations of how many games can Derrick Henry lose us before we start worrying about it. So I think it goes both ways. I think it goes both ways for sure.
Yeah. Well said. This
is an interesting one from Chris. Sources close to the team confirm that we are making an effort to sign CJ Gardner-Johnson, recently released from the Texans. Your thoughts? Are they over Juan Thornhill completely?
Yeah, that's the only way you bring in another player. Like, someone has to go. They have their 53-man roster. I don't believe they have an available spot currently on the practice squad, unless I'm mistaken. I think everything's filled. Don't get me wrong. Juan Thornhill has been less than impressive through 3 weeks. Have you seen the Houston Texans through 3 weeks? I don't think I want a lot of their players right now.
It's true. CJ also is like there's a lot of attitude there in some wrong ways that I think would be worrisome. That being said, this is interesting. Chris, if you're onto something, if you know something, hit me up, please. That would be, that'd be nice. I'm up like 8 hours before everybody over here. So, slide in the DMs. Appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you. Nate needs more salad. Did we peep that Aaron Rodgers is tied for second in passing touchdowns? LOL. And a lot of people didn't want him. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers, man. It's crazy the stats that you could come up with or find in wild seasons. That being said, he also had Josh Allen's stat line last year, and the Jets looked atrocious. So a lot of things need to happen. A lot of things need to look better right now. James, would you think about a 4-3? Would you think about a 4-3? Would that stop the run better? My only issue with this is that you have to change so many things. Like, so many things. TJ does not fit in a 4-3 at all. Nick Herbig does not fit in a 4-3 at all. Like, you are completely changing your defensive front. And like you can't just do it in the middle of the season because
Mhm.
it wouldn't work. You'd have to completely recalibrate your roster, and get rid of TJ and get rid of Nick Herbig. And again, like, are you willing to do that for this? I don't think so.
Yeah, that would like I'll echo what Noah's saying here. Like I don't think a 4-3 necessarily fixes things because sure, maybe it allows like Keanu Benton to maybe thrive as a true defensive end in a 4-3 setup. But like, yeah, TJ Watt is not a 4-3 D end. Like that's just not what he does. I could see like Nick Herbig, I'd have some sort of faith in him being one of those linebackers in a 4-3 situation, a little bit more so than TJ Watt, but man, yeah, I don't think that necessarily solves the issues. I think what would solve the issue is, just all of them playing better.
You're not
There's
wrong.
your analysis right there. Top notch stuff.
You are not wrong for sure. Here's an interesting one for you. Carl Mean Cup of Joe Green Bean Salad Spackler Bear. I said that way too well right now. Bears call and say DJ Moore for Highsmith and a 5th. Do you do it? No, I'm not a big DJ Moore guy. I think that's my problem here. I don't think it has anything to do with the position or the call or the offer. I just don't know. I'm not a DJ Moore guy. Like I think he's so dangerously close to being past being good, like, and just becoming like decent, like entering the mix of just an old wide receiver. I think he's getting really close.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's where he is. Like I think the Bears have literally pushed him into that spot already. Like he seems like he wants out, right?
Oh,
like
for sure. Who doesn't?
Well, Caleb Williams is having a ball. But I think like Roma Dunes and Luther Burden are like having a good time too. But like, yeah, this is like why I say no so quickly, like not to be dismissive. So I apologize if it sounded like that, but like this is not the need that is worth giving up such a strong player for, in my opinion. Like, and you just can't convince me otherwise that a wide receiver sort of is or satisfies those requirements. So this situation, I'm like, no, it would have to be something more coming back for the Pittsburgh Steelers or some sort of better compensation to make up for it, in my opinion, not because it's a bad idea.
Toss Salad, my call never made it to the continued call-in show. I guess it was too late and should be in the next call-in show, but it won't make much sense as it did last week. Just a heads up. I apologize. So I collect all the calls on Wednesday and record both shows on Wednesday. So they go out as they go out. We get so many calls that they just bundle up. My best advice, guys, is to call Monday. Like, you know what I mean? I think everybody should call Monday to Wednesday. And then if we set up that schedule, and maybe I could try to figure something out to where calls no longer work from Wednesday to Sunday and then start again on Monday, I think we'd have a constant flow. And that's on me. I got to figure that out. I apologize. Toss Salad. We'll get in a better groove, especially if we got so many, which I appreciate you guys. Like, I love them. I love them so much. I just don't want this to keep happening to people. So I'll figure it out on my end. Justin Gordon, Steelers need to skip quarterback in the 2026 NFL draft. Bring A-Rod or let Will Cook and use draft capital for early first-round offensive line and late first-round nose tackle. Overreaction or not?
Ooh. Not an overreaction. Not an overreaction at all. I think that's just probably a good course of action. Like those seems to be two huge areas of concern. Not sure how they're going to get better. You need probably an impact player that can be around for the long term. Yep.
Yeah. I don't think that Will is going to play well if you start him next year. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't. And I think the season would be over before it even started. Again, I'm sorry. But I don't think this is an overreaction only because, like, you need an offensive line and you need a nose tackle before anybody's got any shot to do anything in Pittsburgh. So I agree with this one. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron comes back and the Steelers use their first picks on those things instead and just say, let's get one more year and see what we can do. We'll finish off with these two. One from Broderick Wallace. Is it too late to hire an offensive line consultant and ball treatment specialist? Is Frazier playing well? I have a hard time telling when every other offensive lineman looks like a screen door in a hurricane. Shout out to both of you guys. Broderick, is it too late to hire an offensive line consultant? Yes, the answer is yes right now. You're not going to bring somebody in week 4 to consult your offensive line. I don't think it's going to work. They also have a coach and an assistant coach. And I think an assistant to the assistant coach, like, there's so many people working with this offensive line, which again makes it worse. So I just don't think you could bring anybody in right now. And then I'll let you go with ball treatment specialist. Is Zach Frazier playing well?
Yes. So apologies. That name's my favorite one from today. So I apologize. But yeah, I do think it is absolutely difficult to see and to parse through so much of like the muck and the mud that is the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line. So it's very difficult to see when things are going well, even in the slightest.
Yeah,
Zach Frazier is the farthest thing from the problem in the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line. He has been maybe the only one who wins consistently at the point of contact. He has maintained a very strong connection with Aaron Rodgers. They worked out, a real early training camp kink of that sort of connection, the exchange, the QC exchange, as Mike Tomlin will call that. I think all of that to say, Zach Frazier is certainly playing well. In his second year, he has certainly taken a step. He's not anyone I'm worried about. Of those 5 players on the offensive line, it's the 4 to his left and right.
for sure. And shout out to Maddie here. Did we see the Giants? I hope your boy Jackson Dart kills it over there, man. I hope that he truly does. Russ, keep on cooking, my friend.
We ride to
it's
the bench.
time. We ride to the bench. Shout out to Russell Wilson. Shout out our boy Jackson Dart. Shout out Maddie's boy Jackson Dart. Hope he kills it. Look at he's officially the swaggiest quarterback in the NFL. So that's my dude right there. All right, guys. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk, live from Dublin, Ireland, just days before the Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Minnesota Vikings. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. With that said, we will be back tomorrow. Peace.